inside of it, and then I can get each of the values one at a time. Okay, and then changing the value. Now this one that is 1, okay, I'm now changing it over here to what become 15. That's basically changing the value of a given item in a list. Okay, so by default, writing only y square bracket 0 would give me the element itself. Then writing it and equating it towards a number or a value will now change the position, the element in that position. Okay, will now be changed to that value. Okay, so our y bracket 0 will now give us what? 15. Okay, so that's why when I printed y here, okay, 15 now came in place of what? 15 now came in place of 1. Okay, 15 now came in place of 1, and 17 came in place of what? 3. Okay, sorry, 17 came in place of 4 rather. Okay, and then which other one? 23 came in place of 7. Okay, that's basically it. So how do we change? By simply assigning a value to it. That is how we change items in what? In a list, basically. Then we went ahead to talk about changing a range of items. Okay, changing a range of items. Let's say we still working with our y. Okay, let's just define a new one. Let's say hello 1 is equal to square bracket, and let's go with 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Okay, now let's say you want to change. This is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's say you want to change from 1 to 3. Okay, so we are changing what? 2 values, 1 and 2. That is our target. Changing what? 1 and 2. So I'm supposed to pass in what? 2 values in return. Okay, so I'm supposed to pass in, let's say I want to give something like 3, 5. Okay, 3, 5. Now if I go ahead to print hello 1, okay, then I will have what? 3 and 5 in place of what? 4 and 6, basically. Okay, that is what this is doing. Okay, so it replaced 4 and 6 with what? 3 and 5. That is because I decided to set a range of values that I want to do what? Replace, and gave exactly the same amount of values to what? Replace them with. Okay, so that is that.
A new value, and that's why it created, for instance, it created 17 instead of 3.
Yes.
Then the second one.
This one now we did here.
We are trying to change the value.
Yes.
To the index.
Yes. Here now, this part is saying it's almost the same thing as this, but instead of saying I want to change a one index only or one item only, you're not saying I want to change multiple. Okay, that's just basically it's just basically the same thing. But the first one is one item at a time. The other one is what? Multiple item at a time. Okay, so just think of it this way. The first one is only changing 0 or 3 or -1 or -3, while this other one is changing from 1 till before what? 3, so which is 1 and 2, basically. Okay, so that's what this is doing. So I passed in exactly the same amount of values I want to change, which is just what? 2 values. Okay, in a case where I pass in more values or less values, the system will try to adjust and fill it in accordingly. Okay, which basically means if I add in more values, it will add them and adjust the values forward. Okay, so let's see what will happen. Okay, let's see what will happen. L2 is equals to, I'm going to still copy the same thing. Okay, So I'm going to copy the same thing and paste over here. Then I'll say L2 square brackets again 1 to 3. Okay, is now equals, so I'm going to give more values than I needed. 3, 5, 7. Okay, then I'll print L2. Okay, I'll print L2. So execute it. Now see what happened. It added what? 3, 5, okay, 7 before what? 8 to 10. Okay, so it added what? 3, 5, 7 before what? 8 to 10. Okay, so that's basically what happened. So I added more than what I needed, so it just added all of them together. Think of it this way: to split it at that point, take out the part you want, and then put the new value you are giving to it, and join it back. Okay, like a surgery. It will break the part you want, okay, and keep the other two parts where it is, and then put the new value you are giving to it, like a replaceable part, and then whatever is remained or whatever remains from it is then joined to it. So it took out here, okay, and took out here, and focused on this window, which is this part. Okay, after making changes to this part, it's brought here and joined it again, and brought here and joined it again. So if you specify a range to make changes to that range, everything that you operate will be falling within that range, and that range only. Everything will remain untouched. Okay, so that is that.
Sir, please can you print L2 of bracket 3? Let me see. I want to just see the value.
Bracket what?
3. Okay, yeah.
Okay, so that's that. Then the last one for this kind of examples, okay, still the same kind of thing, but I'm not going to give something lesser. I'm trying to change 2 items, but I'm going to give 1 item less. Okay, 1 to 3 square bracket. I'm going to give only 3 in this case. Okay, then I'm going to print L3. Okay, so if you're looking closely, it took 4 and 5 and 6 out, and then I gave it only 3 in return. Okay, so you just place 3 back to where 4 and 6 were, and join the remaining part of the list back. So since I don't have enough values that I replace, it just assumed that I didn't need the remaining values. Okay, so what happened was 6 was deleted permanently. 6 wasn't just replaced, it was deleted entirely, and then 8, 10, 2 were returned back to to their positions, or to their new positions. Okay, so that's just the difference. Okay, I believe this is clear, because the next thing we're going to look at is list methods, which would start looking at how to add items to a list, remove items from a list, sort a list, and the rest of it. Okay, which are the most important ones you'll be doing most times. Okay, so lists methods. So I'm trying for us to be as fast as we can. So we can all move forward. So let's say I have an empty list, okay, called 1/3, okay, an empty list called 1/3. So these are individuals that they want in a society, all right, and I want to start adding values to them, okay. It's an empty list, but I want to add values to it. What I can do is do 1/3, okay, dot append, which is a method, okay. Then I'll append the name of the 1/3 guy, all right. Then I would print the 1/3 list, okay. So now if I printed over here, let's do double print. So I print over here, you see that the list was actually empty. If this thing can type print for me, okay. So you see I have an empty one, and then the dot append added what? Peter Pan to the list, okay. That's what basically it does. Dot append adds something to the list, basically, okay. Add something to the list.
So, does it add to the end or to the front of the list?
To the end, to be precise. If something is in the list, it adds to the end. If something is not in the list, it's basically the first item. Okay. All right, so let's proceed. Okay. Then we have dot insert, okay, which we're going to look at again. The 1/3 list, you're going to recreate it again, and again you're going to print, but this time around it's not going to be empty. 1/3. So for now we have Mark, Dave, and okay, so these are the two names we have currently. Then 1/3 dot insert. Now the dot insert takes in two parameters. What are parameters? Parameters are values that we insert into a function or a method. Okay, parameters are values you give or pass into a method or a function. Okay, so the first one we need to pass in is the index. Okay, the index, that is where do we want this thing to be. Okay, so I'm putting 1, and then I'm passing in again Peter Pan. So it's very, very simple and easy. And I'm going to print 1/3 and execute. So if you're looking at this, what you're seeing is McDave and the hive. Then second one is McDave, Peter Pan, then and the hive. Basically what happened was the insert method, I said insert Peter Pan into the what? First index. Okay, so the first index is basically, or rather index 1. I think that's better way to say it. So I say first index, I'll be like 0. Okay, so insert it to index 1. Okay, so it will not insert any other place, or the end, or the beginning, or the Okay, it will basically go to what? The specified position. So I can say insert into index 2 or index 3 depending on the case. Okay, but the point is the insert allows you to say the particular position you want this value to be entered into. Okay, the insert allows you to specify the particular position you want the value to be appended into or inserted into. Okay, if I say 0, it will be the first item in the list, basically. Okay, that's that for insert. So it takes in the index position and then the value. Append by default end of the list. Okay, this one allows you to choose where you want to add it, basically. And again, it's not one of the most frequently used because most times you don't really care the arrangement. Okay, but again, something you should know. Occasionally, you find yourself using it. All right. Then another one that we should know is now our list is empty, and I'm going to create another list. Okay. And these suspects are in front of me. Okay, then now I'm going to do wanted dot extend now. The dot extend allows you to add multiple, or let me use the word, a sequence of items into a list. Okay, it allows you to add a sequence of items into a list. So I can now extend the word sub. Okay, and I'm now going to print wanted. Okay, so that is that. Extends does what? It allows you to extend multiple sequence into a list, basically. It allows you to extend multiple sequence into a list, basically. Okay, so now it can be a tuple or a list, practically. Okay, it can be a tuple or a list, and we know that the difference between tuple and a list is one, the type of brackets that they are using. Okay, type of bracket that they are using. That is the major difference between the two. Type of bracket that they are using. Then two, changeability. One is mutable, the other one is non-mutable, basically. Okay. I hope up to this point is clear. Okay. So the next thing we're going to look at is how to remove things. All this while you have been learning how to add things. Okay. So the next we're going to look at is how to remove things. Okay. See how to remove items from a list, and then okay, so let's proceed. This time around I'll go with the example here, and then I'll explain. Okay, so we have a list, then and inside of our list we have apple, banana, cherry, and we are saying that the list dot remove what? Banana. This is basically saying go through the list and take away any item called banana. Okay, take away any item called what?
Sorry,
Banana.
what does dot extend?
Extend basically allows you to add more than one item at a time to a list. Okay. Now, you will notice the difference from the assignment I'm going to give when you're adding an item using dot extend and you're adding multiple items using append. Okay, you see the difference between the two of them, but know that when you want to add multiple items, depending on the context, you must use extend. There are some cases where you use append actually, sure, but like I say, it depends on the context what you're trying to achieve. So for this remove, it removes the first occurrence of banana from the list, basically. And I'm left with apple, cherry. Now, what happens if we have multiple banana? What happens if we have multiple banana? Who can tell me? What happens when we have multiple banana? Okay, so it still removes the first one in the list and leaves the other one, basically. All right, removes the first one in the list, first occurrence of banana. It doesn't go to find all the bananas and start removing them. No, it doesn't have that wisdom yet. It just picks the first banana in the counters and removes it. That's how most of these things work. They find the first one and they will disappear that one or work with that one.
So in many cases where there are more than one in this, it's not wise to use remove.
You can use remove, but you have to use it in a different format with other things. Some of these things they don't work on their own. They have to be used together with other things. Maybe like I can use it to the loop and to remove all the bananas. Yeah. So, but it depends on the context. Okay. Now the next thing we're going to see is pop. Okay, pop is one of my favorites because it does two things. Okay. Now up to this moment, we've been putting the item we want to remove. Okay, we've been putting the item we want to remove. But pop, you have to specify the index like what we did in SAT. Okay, so in our case, I'm removing what banana still, but this time I'm specifying what one particular index. Okay, so the index will be removed and then the remaining items will be returned back to us. Okay, so that is that. Then what happens when I don't have an index inside of pop? That is another case. A case where I have an index inside of pop, it removes that particular one. Now, like I said, pop is a very interesting thing. Okay, I can decide to pop and store these values here. Let's finish this one first. Okay, so let me execute this. So it removed what? Cherry. Since I didn't specify anything, it removed the last element. Okay, if I didn't specify, pop will do what? Remove the last element. If I specify, pop will take away what? The particular element I specified or index I specified. Okay. Now, I was trying to explain something about pop. Pop doesn't just delete something. It kind of does something with. Let me put it this way: it removes it and holds it back in the memory. Okay. It doesn't just delete it and throws it away permanently. You can still have access to it. So let's say we paste the same thing and then call this popped. Okay, popped like so, and then I would also print popped. All right. Now I just deleted. Okay, by using popped. Okay, I have access to the item I just deleted by using what? Pop. So that is what pop can allow us to do. Then we have dot clear and we have delete, which I would advise you to practice more of. I'll just give an example of each. Okay, we have dot clear and delete, which is practically, so delete will basically delete the entire list. Okay, if I try to print this list, it should give me an error. Okay, it's going to take time to give me an error. Okay, why clear? Clear will not delete the list permanently. It just will remove all the elements in the list, basically. Okay, so that is the difference. This would give an error, whereas this will return an empty list to us. Okay, clear will return an empty list. The list is still there. Okay, but delete makes the list disappear from memory. The computer has no memory of what? The list any longer once you use the delete keyword. Okay, so that's the difference. All right. Now the next thing I want us to look at is something called list comprehension. Okay, but before we do list comprehension, I want us to look at tuple. Okay, before we do list comprehension, I want us to look at tuples, because list comprehension will be the last thing we do after for loop. We'll come back to list comprehension. So let me use this opportunity and teach tuple again, because tuple is quite simple and straightforward. The only difference between what we did now and what we do in tuple is the change of brackets and the inability to assign new values. Again, the only difference between what we did now and what we do in tuple is one, the change of brackets and the inability to assign what? New values. You can't do an append, you can't do square bracket access, okay? Change value, okay? Basically, all you can do with that is either pop, delete, or create. Basically, that's all you can do with tuple. Then we can learn about our loops. Okay, so briefly, tuples, so that we get that one out of the way. Okay. Now, a basic tuple looks like so. Okay, so let me clear this part out and say this is a tuple, and then instead of using square bracket, I'm now using what? Circular bracket, the normal bracket we all know about, parentheses as it's called. Okay, I'm now using parentheses. Now this is basically what the tuple looks like. I can go ahead and print type, okay, this tuple, okay, so to tell us what the class is tuple. And if I print this tuple, it's now telling me what? Apple, banana, cherry with what? Circular brackets. Now we can always access. I will do the access. Okay, this tuple square bracket again. We're not going to use a square bracket because of tuple, but we're going to use what? A square bracket as we normally use in a list. Okay, and print. I can get my cherry. Okay, then I'll do one more. this, I can still do my negative indexing. Square brackets, -2, square brackets. Okay. I'm getting my banana. Okay. Getting my tuple, getting my cherry, getting my banana. Then let's try and see if we can assign values to this. Like I said, it shouldn't be possible for us to assign values to this. Tuples are by default immutable, unchangeable. Okay, so this tuple square brackets 1 equal to let's go with rice. Now it's giving me what? Type error. Tuple object does not support item assignment, meaning I am trying to do what I should not what do, basically. Okay, so you just know that tuple does not allow us to do what? Assign values to them. So once you create a tuple, you have created it. In all my applications where I use tuple, they are serving as my constants. Okay, where I have a list of things I want to loop over or use to do some things, and I don't want to collect a lot of space, okay? Because tuples are more memory efficient because they are constant, they don't change. Lists are memory inefficient, they consume a lot of memories, okay? But that's like if you're building a memory intensive application where you have to manage every memory. But in most cases, you don't really mind, you don't really care. Okay? So that is that. The next thing we're going to look at now is unpacking a tuple before we now look at loops. Okay, unpacking a tuple, then we now look at loops. Okay. So let's go ahead and proceed. Now to unpack a tuple, we simply mean getting values from within the tuple, okay, and as putting them in what different variables, getting values from within the tuple and putting them in different what variables. Okay, that's what we mean by that. Okay?